Viewers, before diving in, drop your location and what time it is right now. Let's see how far this story travels across screens, coffee tables, and late-night snack sessions. The sun presses down on Ethan's shingles like a heavy hand, while bees linger over the purple wash of vines as if filing their own complaint. Cindy Ellsworth, HOA president by title and self-crowned queen by attitude, has rallied her cousins to stage what looks more like a farmer's market robbery than a civic duty. These grapevines violate HOA aesthetics, she shrieks, waving her laminated rulebook like it's the Magna Carta. A cousin shoves a dolly under Ethan's crates, muscles straining, while another live streams the scene with the solemnity of a nature documentary narrator. This is what it takes to keep a community safe from antioxidants, he intones. Somewhere historians still argue whether grapes were ever truly dangerous or just delicious scapegoats. Ethan stands steady on the ramp, his dog Ulysses leaning against his leg, issuing one low huff that translates roughly to, "Seriously, are we doing this again?" Cindy beams her church smile toward the gathering crowd. Neighbors hover like jurors at an outdoor trial. Kylie clutching her yoga mat. Mr. Patel polishing glasses. Even a kid on a scooter holding his breath like he's watching live theater. Cindy calls for harmony while her manicure flashes over the pages. Ethan echoes the word back, tasting it like it's a dentist's drill. 10 minutes, Cindy declares, and the cousins heave another crate. Juice ribbons down an arm, purple streaks like war paint. Ethan doesn't raise his voice. He simply points out the obvious. You don't have the authority to confiscate produce. Phones rise higher. Neighbors whisper. Cindy smirks, whispering that the will of the neighborhood outweighs one stubborn homeowner. The crowd hums nervously, property values allergic to conflict. Hank, the retired cop next door, watches from his fence like a man measuring exits in a crowded room. He lifts 2 fingers in a silent salute, old lawman shorthand that says, "You're holding steady." Ethan nods, smoothing his shirt just enough for the stitched circle over his chest to catch the light. It's a county police emblem, hidden until now, the kind of detail that shifts the weight of a morning. Cindy's visor shades her eyes, but not the tiny twitch when she notices. The cousins keep lifting, but the audience breathes in unison, waiting for the spark. Phones zoom. The street goes quiet. Even the bees adjust their pitch. The trap Cindy set, that classic HOA move of cornering a man with decency, suddenly looks wobbly. Ethan doesn't shove or shout. He just folds his arms, emblem visible, and lets silence speak louder than her laminated authority. The neighborhood drifts back to its routine, but Ethan knows Cindy isn't finished. She never is. That night at 10:47 p.m., Ulysses growls low at the door. Ethan kills the porch light and peeks through the curtain. There she is, visor on like it's welded to her scalp, pressing a paper against his mailbox with the pomp of someone christening a battleship. No glance left or right, just the confident pat-pat of a woman who believes the world bends to her signature. The letter flaps in the warm breeze like a garage sale flyer pretending to be law. Inside it renames his vineyard an agricultural installation. Historians still argue whether that's a garden, a sculpture, or a crime scene. Ethan lays the letter flat at his kitchen table. Ulysses curled at his feet. The words are vague, may result at the board's discretion, all bark, no bite. He knows the play wear him down, grind him into compliance through sheer nuisance. But this vineyard isn't just decor. He planted every post tied, every trellis bottled last year's vintage for friends. Pulling the vines now would mean surrendering months of work, and worse, giving Cindy authority she doesn't own. Hank's porch light blinks twice across the way, his version of knocking. Ethan flashes a thumbs up. Neither man needs more than that. By the next evening, Cindy escalates with an orange pending removal notice zip-tied to his gate. Big block letters like something condemned by the city. Cars slow down to stare. Ethan doesn't rip it apart. He folds it neatly, saving it for later like a prop in his counter show. That night, Hank arrives with a six-pack, leans back in his chair and mutters, "She's accelerating." He asks Ethan if he's ready to play his card, meaning the emblem. Ethan shakes his head. Not yet. Quiet's better. Quiet scares her more. The board meeting comes fast. Upstairs at the community pool, Cindy presides in full regalia, visor pearls, the whole Broadway matinee. She parades photos of his vines like crime scene evidence, using words like visual disruption and unsanctioned agricultural activity. Neighbors squirm in their folding chairs, half annoyed, half curious. When Ethan finally stands emblem glinting under fluorescent light, the room stirs. He quotes the bylaws, proper notice board vote, due process. Cindy bristles, snapping that this isn't a courtroom. Ethan smiles. Good thing you'd need a better case. Chuckles ripple through the back row. Hank rises steady as a stone, reminding the board that seizing property without a vote isn't authority, it's overreach. The word lands heavy. Cindy smooths her blazer and tries to pivot, but even her allies hesitate. "We'll take this under advisement," she concedes the HOA version of waving a white flag. Outside, Hank claps Ethan's shoulder. "You bought time, not peace." Ethan nods. He knows the fight isn't over. Cindy never retreats. She reloads. But tonight, at least the vineyard still breathes sweet and unbothered under the moonlight, and Ethan has the bylaws tucked like arrows in his quiver. The countdown ends on a Saturday morning. Ethan sips coffee on his porch as a contractor's truck rumbles up, towing a shredder big enough to turn vines into mulch. Hazard lights blink like orange exclamation points. Cindy arrives minutes later in her Lexus heels, clicking across pavement visor, gleaming like a battle helmet. She gestures dramatically. "We're here to execute corrective measures." Her voice projects for the phones already recording. Ethan leans on the railing, calm as Sunday scripture. "Glad you're here, Cindy. Been looking forward to this." The contractors hesitate. Historians still argue whether hesitation is common sense or job security, then glance toward the vines. Ethan lifts his phone, hits record, and announces loud enough for every neighbor to hear, "Touch one vine and you'll be trespassing. County Agricultural Office already confirmed I'm legal. HOA has no court order." He swings the camera toward Cindy's face. Her smile stiffens like overcooked pasta. Just then, blue and red lights slice through the morning. Hank's cruiser crawls to the curb, sunglasses hiding whatever satisfaction flickers in his eyes. "Morning," he drawls. "Got a report of a property dispute." Cindy sputters about neighborhood standards, but Hank's gaze shifts to the shredder. "On someone else's land?" he asks. The contractors shuffle, admitting they only had Cindy's verbal orders. The crowd ripples, neighbors with phones angled like paparazzi kids, whispering, dogs barking at the scent of drama. Hank asks Ethan, "You want to press charges?" Ethan shakes his head slowly. "Not today. But let the record show the HOA president authorized unauthorized entry." Cindy swallows fury behind clenched teeth. Hank lifts a palm. "Ma'am, best you leave before this requires paperwork." Paperwork, the true kryptonite of petty tyrants. Cindy spins on her heel, contractors scrambling after her. The shredder rattles off like a defeated dragon. By afternoon, Ethan harvests. Grapes fall into baskets with a steady drumbeat, hand stained dark red air thick with sweetness. He rolls out the oak barrel he's been saving, drops clusters inside the sound like applause echoing from the rows. Neighbors stroll by slower than usual, nodding with cautious respect. Cindy doesn't reappear that day or the next. Instead, a plain envelope slides under his door. Inside, effective immediately, the HOA will not pursue further action. No apology, no flourish, just bureaucratic retreat. Ethan pins it to the fridge beside the orange removal notice trophies from a war he never sought but refused to lose. Weeks later, bottles line his counter, deep red shimmering at the edges. He pours a glass, lifts it to the vines outside and whispers, "To survival, to stubbornness, to harvest." Ulysses sighs at his feet. The street lies quiet, silvered in moonlight, as if even the bees have declared him the winner. The story slows here softer now, as though the camera itself exhales. The vineyard rests in stillness, rows neat under the pale touch of the moon. The tension that once crackled across fences fades into something gentler, a silence broken only by the faint rustle of leaves. Ethan sits back with his glass of wine, savoring the way it holds both sunlight and struggle, sweetness and defiance. Each sip is slower than the last, stretched like time on a summer evening when nothing presses but the hum of crickets. Cindy's shadow lingers only at the edge of memory now, passing by in her Lexus eyes, straight ahead, visor lowered. She remains part of the story, but no longer its author. The vineyard has reclaimed its rhythm, each vine breathing quietly, unbothered, as if nature itself has granted a kind of verdict. Some say victory tastes like triumph. Others insist it tastes like peace. Here in the soft hush of twilight, it tastes like grapes that chose to become wine. Ulysses shifts against his leg, the steady warmth of a companion who asked for no role in the battle, but played it all the same. The house creaks lightly, cooling as night deepens. A lantern glows in the distance, someone's porch light, a reminder that life continues beyond this little war. Ethan sets his glass down slowly, eyes on the horizon where stars gather like patient witnesses. The storm has passed. The air carries no threat, only the sweet scent of lavender and vines. If the world feels fragile, it also feels forgiving, ready to let a man close his eyes and rest. So let the story drift here like a whisper carried on the night breeze. Sleep easy, friend.